Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Weekly Deal Breakdown on my YouTube channel or on the Real Estate Investing Fast Track podcast, depending how you're consuming this. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Greg Helbeck, and I've been a full-time entrepreneur now for almost 10 years. I've been buying and selling investment properties all over the country since I was in college. So the point of this podcast slash YouTube channel is to share what I've learned over the last 10 years with you, so you can benefit from it and grow your business. So today I'm going to do a deal breakdown on a property that actually just closed today in late January 2025. By the way, before I get into that, if you get value from this, if you could do me a favor and like the video and subscribe to my channel, or if you're listening to this on audio, if you could do me a favor and share the podcast on social media, it would really mean a lot to me. So this is a wholesale deal that just got done. It closed today, and it was out in Tacoma, Washington on C Street. So long story short, the way we found the property was through a direct mail marketing campaign. I bought this predictive data set, mailed it out, got some calls. They originally called in and they were like asking $300,000 or something, and the property was worth like $350 max fixed up. I was like, we obviously can't make that work. So Brett, my guy, who is a beast at buying houses, followed up with this lady. She dropped her price $75,000. Looked at the property. I said, I don't want to flip it, but I definitely can wholesale it most likely. So we said, hey, we need 7 inspection days. And we told her exactly what was going on. It's what I do on wholesale only properties. She agreed to everything. We signed the contract. I put it out to my email list. I put it on a Facebook group out here in Washington. And I had a decent amount of interest, not anything crazy. A couple buyers walked it. And the second buyer called me up after the appointment. And they said, hey, we want to take it at your price. We'll do the deal. No problem. I've never worked with these people. I didn't know them until they reached out. So we ended up signing the assignment agreement. We assigned it for $20,000 more than we had it for. Ended up doing pretty well on it. And in my opinion, that's a win because the seller was not going to sell for anything less. And I knew there was some sort of a margin there. So it closed like literally 3 weeks later. No issues, no title problems, no drama with the seller. It was a fairly straightforward deal. There was a little bit of hiccup yesterday with closing costs. So that's actually lesson number 1. Get your closing costs, get everything in writing, right? Especially in Washington or New York where the closing costs are high. So out here, there's this thing called excise tax, which is called transfer tax in New York and Delaware. And what that is basically a fee you have to pay the state and the county, depending on where it is, anytime you transfer property. So in Washington, if it's under 500 something thousand, it's like 1.1% of the sales price, plus there's county taxes. So it's expensive, right? It's thousands and thousands of dollars every deal. And we put in the assignment agreement that the assignee, in this case the buyer, is responsible for the excise tax. And then we put in our agreement with the seller that the buyer is responsible for all the closing costs. So in this case, we didn't have to worry as the wholesaler about paying for the excise tax out of our assignment fee. And at the same time, we didn't have to have the seller have it come out of their proceeds because we had everything in writing. Buyers paying for the closing costs, which in this case is me. And then the excise tax is getting paid for by the end buyer. So the seller was able to net a true $225. So get it in writing. When it's in writing, it's black and white. There's no disputing. There's no ambiguity. That's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 here is when you're in a hot market like Seattle or New York, where I do business, there's a lot of properties you can roll the dice on and most likely get a buyer as long as you're not trying to sell it for a stupid number. So in this case, I knew there was a chance it was going to work out. I didn't know it was a guaranteed deal because obviously the numbers were tight. But Tacoma, Washington is highly competitive. Pierce County, a lot of people want to buy and sell houses here. Same thing in Seattle, same thing in New York. So when you're in an expensive market like me, you're really able to roll the dice on deals and have them work out more often than not. So if you're a wholesaler, obviously you take your chances, but if you're going to wholesale a property, and I say this like every deal breakdown when it's a wholesale deal, disclose to the seller what you're doing, be transparent, right? If the seller didn't feel comfortable with us wholesaling it, we would not have done the deal. I'm not going to screw someone over to try to make a quick buck. Transparency and honesty win you more business than it loses you, and it allows you to sleep well at night. So disclose. And in a hot market, most likely the deals are going to work out because there's a lot of demand. And the third lesson here, this was a direct mail marketing conversion. So I think I spent $13,000 on the data, which was an annual license I bought. Plus, I think I spent about $5,000 on the postage. So I'm in for $18,000, right, so far on the mailing, and I made $20,000. So I already made my money back on the data and on the postage. And if it was just the postage, I would have made a 4x return, but obviously I spent a bunch of money on data. But when you're doing direct-to-seller marketing, the goal, especially with like mail, is you want to get your initial capital back as soon as possible and like break even. And then anything else on top of that is basically going to give you a really high return on spend, especially when you're spending a lot of money on data like me. I want to get my basis back. I want to get whatever I put into that campaign back first. And then once I have that, the campaign like starts to just crank because the return goes up because you're just paying for postage. You don't have to worry about that data anymore. So don't look to get rich on your first mailing campaign. Try to break even on the first like 2 or 3 drops. And then after that, you're going to see on like drop 4, 5, and 6, the return is going to go through the roof. So be patient with your direct mail. You don't got to get rich on one deal. See it through, become profitable, and then keep optimizing it from there. That is the property on East C Street. If you have a property in the Seattle area or in the New York area or in Delaware that you want to wholesale to me, I will buy the property. I just bought a deal from a wholesaler last week. He made $116,500. So 116.5, six-figure wholesale fee I paid him, and I had no problem doing that. Or if you have a deal you want to wholesale with me, let me know. I'm looking to do more deals with my community here. Send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, or send me an Instagram DM at grego37, and I'll see you on the next REI deal breakdown. Take care.